Hello, hello. You're listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa here on 1-2 Radio, where we are changing the way we manifest in the world, and it's Wonderful Wednesday. Well, for me, it's Wonderful Wet Wednesday. It's raining here in South Florida. I hope everybody's doing well in the world. I don't know about y'all, but there's some serious intense energies going on right now, and I am definitely feeling it. And this Mercury retrograde has been doing some minor little funky things with me today. Well, actually, this past couple of days. So I just laugh. I'm just like, okay, I get it. Yes, and it has everything to do with communications and electronics. So that's lots of fun. For those of you who listen to my show regularly, thank you again for being with me today. And for those of you who have shown up, and this is your first time listening to my show, welcome. We do have a chat room. And if you are on Facebook, you can get into our chat room. It's private. And how you get into it is you go to 12radio.com, and on the left menu bar, you'll see the chat button. If you click there, you'll get redirected to our 1-2 Radio Facebook group, and my producer, Scott, will let you in. Thank you, Scott, for producing my show. So just wanted to announce a couple of things. The book, my book comes out in 6 days. I am super excited. I cannot believe it. Thank you to you guys who have pre-ordered the book, and hopefully more of you who have not will order the book when it comes out November 19th. And as you guys know, I always do a Magic Monday message. And the affirmation on this week's message is when stars align to meet your heart. And that is exactly what is happening for me with my book. Everything in the last year has aligned exactly as it was meant to for my book, and it is actually manifested in physical form. I've been sending them out to those who created a postcard and share their manifesting stories in my book, and I'm hearing about it. And since they received the book and how touched they are, and that means so much to me, I cannot even begin to describe it. So for those of you who don't know, I had people create a manifesting postcard, and when their manifestation came to fruition, they shared their story. So their postcard, my photograph of their postcard is in the book next to their story. So there is 30, including mine, in the book. And this is going to be a series, so I'm going to be doing more in the future. So, you guys send me postcards. I know I tell you that, or I haven't said it in a while, but please keep sending them. Okay. So I am super excited today to have my guest, Caroline Nettle, on. She is a new member of the 1-2 family, and we are super excited to have her. And let me just tell you a little bit about Caroline. Caroline is an angel intuitive, a spiritual counselor, and a health intuitive from the UK who has been working in the healing arts since 2005. She works at removing emotional blocks that are holding us back, even when we do not know what they are or why we have them. She lives in the UK, and you'll notice that when you hear her because she's got that cute accent. After a lifetime of traveling, and is passionate about the environment and wildlife conservation. Welcome, Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. It's really fun to be on your show.
Oh, I'm so excited. So we do have a couple treats. Caroline will answer questions in the chat about your health. We're going to concentrate in our healing arts, the healing arts today. So just FYI, even though this is a private Facebook chat, the radio show is not. And, if you don't want your private information or anything shared, then you don't have to post anything. You can contact her directly and have a private session with her, which you can do. But just know that if you do put anything in the chat and you want her to answer it, there may be something private. So just wanted to put that out there. Right, Caroline? We want people to know that, right? That whatever they're asking you, we're saying is okay for you to talk about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I never know what the bodies are going to tell me, and sometimes it can get really personal really quickly. So I'm just that's just a bit of a heads up. So thank you for saying that.
Yes. And she's gonna give an example by using me today, which I'm super excited about. And I told her it's all good. She could say whatever she wants. I'm pretty much an open book. I've shared some emotional stuff with you guys, so I am all good in that department. But before I want to ask you all these questions about how this all started for you, but before I do that, I always ask my guests what they are working on manifesting for themselves. So what are you working on, Caroline?
How long have you got? So I am setting up a project. I am working on manifesting some land. I'm going to set up a market garden and grow medicinal herbs, flowers, fruit, veg, and salads. And I'm going to set up a care farm. So helping people with PTSD, probably people like soldiers, women, that sort of thing. Because there's this healing streak running through me that I can't suppress. So I've just recently found gardening and I'm just totally in love with it. So that's what I'm trying to manifest. Wish me luck.
Oh, you'll do it. I have no doubt. I love that. It's so funny when you said that because I can so picture you in the UK. You have this, us Americans, we have this image of what it's like to live over there. And I just picture this beautiful little cottage with this land and you out there gardening and people coming to your door, to get maybe readings and the herbs that they need to heal themselves. I love it. Sounds good, right?
Yeah, no, that sounds perfect. Keep sending that my way, please. Thank you.
I will, and you can always make a postcard and send it my way. Take a picture of what you want your land to look like. I'm telling you, it's crazy. People, I mean, in the book, and just so many people that aren't in the book, their stories, they'll create a postcard about something they want like that, and then they'll find it. It'll come to them. It's insane.
That's amazing. Yeah. And congratulations on the book. Sounds like it's a real labor of love, so well done.
Thank you. Yes, it has been a real labor of love, and I am super excited about it. Okay, so why don't you share a little bit for those of you who are hearing you for the first time, like how did you become a healer, and how did you find out that you had these healing skills?
You're assuming that I do, but yes, I do. So I spent the first 25, 26 years of my life doing what everybody else wanted me to do. And the result of that, so I got into corporate, I had a really high-flying job, I was earning lots of money, I was traveling a lot, and I got really, really sick because I think my soul was saying, get out of here. So towards the end of my corporate career, a lady came into work, and for £5, which is about $8, she said, you can try this out. And I was like, oh, pick me. So I lay down, and this woman started telling me what my body was saying. And I was like, how on earth do you know that? That's ridiculous. Anyway, my journey was for about 4 or 5 sessions. I was like, well, I'm not really feeling any different, but my body kept screaming at me to go back and see her. And then by about the 5th one, I was like, oh, I'm not quite so tired. I don't feel quite so tetchy. I need a little less sleep, which was fantastic because I had chronic fatigue at the time. I didn't know it, but that's what I had. And she just whispered in my ear, why don't you try it? Why don't you become a practitioner? And I was like, do you know what? I will. And that was the first time in my life that I had consciously thought, oh, that's, something I'll do. And I walked into the room, and it was just a room full of people who were just like me, or my people, I would say. I learned how to do it. Just started practicing straight away. It's such a phenomenal system. And I'm inherently nosy, so I just love it because everybody's different, because we've all lived different lives with different experiences and so on and so forth. But just started finding myself doing these things and getting past life influences a lot, and being able to really find out what was causing their anxiety or their deep emotional trauma. And it's so rewarding. So I started in 2005, and I've been sort of traveling and doing it online ever since, really. Yeah, love it.
Wow. That sounds amazing. So it's called the healing arts, right? Like that's what you would describe it as. You are now into the healing arts. I love that they have art. Art is like one of my favorite words. So I love that that's part of it.
Well, once you've experienced it, you'll understand why I find it really difficult to label. So I learned a system, as you would learn the same system, and anybody can learn this system. And then you kind of fine tune it to your own experiences or what you bring to the table. So there's doctors and chiropractors and obstetricians and all sorts of people who learn this as a tool to help them in whatever their profession is. And I found that mine can be a little bit weird and wonderful, and certainly there's a lot of past life stuff, which, I'm talking to you and I'm assuming that's an okay thing to say, but yes. When I lived near the BBC, and a lot of the people from the BBC were coming to me because they were stressed. So you can imagine it was really quite challenging to not say, I can see you tied up in a monastery, whatever was coming to me. I had to be really careful how I said it. So normal people, and I'm not trying to be rude or pejorative, but, people that don't talk to angels, for example, or, whatever, sometimes find I had a doctor who, she asked me for a session because her son had real behavioral problems. And I went along and did a session for him, and then for her daughter, and then for her, and then for her husband, and then for her mother. So by the time I'd pretty much done a session on the entire family, and she started to see changes, she used to say to her patients, drugs are not going to help you. You need to go and see my friend Caroline. It's a little bit woo-woo, but, take it with a pinch of salt, but she's really great at getting rid of behavioural issues and big anxiety and all of that. She's a very good friend of mine, and so that was really funny.
I love to have those kind of friends. I love my woo-woo friends, right? I call whoever has their expertise. I call. What do you think about this? Somebody who's psychically in tune. What do you think about this? So having healer friends that do this, I think, is just so cool. So do you? So people can understand how you do it. Do you scan our bodies, and you see where blockages are? Do you see it? Do you get a feeling? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I see it. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. I don't scan you per se, but for example, everybody listening to this, everybody on the planet, all plants, all animals have this thing called I call it an inner wisdom. Okay, so this wisdom tells you to put clothes on, eat food, go to the bathroom, run away from the tiger, go to bed, whatever. So you've got this. We are this amazing, amazing system that has trillions of cells all doing things in time or not in time, which is the cause of lots of illnesses. And so this inner wisdom that you don't control, but kind of is working on your behalf to help you get healthy and happy and in harmony. So I speak to that. So, for example, if this was a session, I'd be saying to you, what are your symptoms? What are you bringing to me? What are your problems? Whatever. Okay. And you'd say, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I'd say, okay, that's nice. Now let's park that to one side. Now I'm going to talk to your inner wisdom. So then I just tune into that and I have a conversation with it, and it shows me what is the priority. So, for example, you come to me with a sore tooth. Let's just make that up. And your body says, I don't want to look at the tooth because she's got something going on in her hip that's a lot more important, or somewhere in the kidneys maybe, or somewhere in the lungs. So sometimes what the client wants and what the body wants is different. So I always go with the body. And I've just learned to really trust it. And when I'm talking to it, it's about what in the body is out of balance. So we might find A and we'll link it to B. And what I'm doing in that linking, if you like, is just bringing those two items either into more harmony so that the body can function better, or I'm just reminding them that you are a liver and you are a kidney, you need to do your job, because sometimes if we've had a lot of illness or we're really out of touch with our body, sometimes the organs and endocrines don't know what they're doing. What else do we do? So it's about harmonizing everything in the body. And So when I do it, I kind of get a formula, if you like. So the body will tell me I want to link this to this, and then I want to balance this with this. And over here, we've got massive loads of grief that needs to be taken out because grandma just died or whatever it is. And then once I've got that information, then I do some healing to take away all the blocks, but also to balance everything back. So effectively, your body-mind complex will then go, oh, I get it. Okay, now I need to function like this. So instead of the wrong way, I'll function the right way. And what that allows the body to do is literally just to work better. So I think my job is to help you to function better. And if you're functioning better, you'll probably sleep better, you'll think better, you'll feel better. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not curing anything. I'm just helping your body to be more effective. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what I'm hearing is that a lot of what's going on in our bodies when something physically manifests, there is an emotional component attached to it, right? An emotional block. Is that right?
I would say, my opinion, and I'm happy to disagree with anyone on this, but I'd say 98% of physical symptoms are the symptoms of an emotional issue, a trauma block. So if I'm really rageful, but I've been taught that little girls shouldn't be cross, so I stuff it down, the body can't cope with that. So eventually I'm going to get a really sore shoulder, a really bad ankle that just keeps turning all the time because I need to process that emotions, but I don't know how to express my anger, for example. I'm making this up. But so if I go into the ankle, so somebody comes to me and says, oh, I've had this really dodgy ankle for, X amount of time. And I go in and somebody's angry. Do you see what I mean? So it's nearly always, not always, but nearly always indicative that something's wrong emotionally. And to be really honest, all Americans, most Europeans, anyone really that would be listening to this, Canadians too, don't want to miss anyone out. But if you took just pick someone randomly out of the street, I imagine they would have massive emotional issues. The reason I'm saying that is because, well, in Europe, we had a war. Our grandparents went to war. You probably joined in a bit. You've got things going on politically, socioeconomically, religiously. There's drought, there's famine, there's fire. I mean, there's just so many things. And that's before you look at the relationships between people. Maybe mum didn't love me enough, or my cousin used to beat me up, or there's so many things that can cause us to not quite be emotionally healthy, is what I would say. So, and each of us is different, and that's something that's really interesting at the moment. So looking at PTSD, they say 1 in 4 people who have a traumatic event get PTSD. And of course I'm like, so 3 of them have a traumatic event, but kind of just get on with it and it doesn't affect them. The person with PTSD, it's a horrendous condition that really is debilitating. But I'm really interested in why that one and the other 3 didn't. Do you see what I mean? But anyway, it's a fascinating subject. I can really talk about it, so I'll let you ask.
No, I love it. It's so interesting to me. And you said something about past lives. So I'm assuming that sometimes these emotional blocks are carryovers from something that may have happened in a past life. So somebody who's struggling with their health and they can't figure out why it manifested, where it's coming from, why they're having these issues, because in this life they don't have that, but there's a body memory or something that comes back, with the emotional trauma that didn't even happen in this life. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, and I would say it slightly differently in that I think there's an energetic influence from a past life. And it's interesting because some people, we all have happy past lives and we also have not so happy past lives. And I never go back to the happy past lives. So that means to me that life has processed through or been, finished. But yeah, what's a really good example?
And you'll see flashes, like you'll get flashes of somebody's past life while you're working with them. Is that how it works for you?
So what I do is, like, say I went into your heart and I could see that you'd built a big wall because you'd been hugely heartbroken at some stage. And I'm maybe looking at a wall, so that's what I'm seeing. And then I see a soldier jumping over the wall, and I'm like, is this Melisa or is it past life? And then I kind of, I have a chat with the soldier, find out what's wrong, how did he die? Because it's usually they died by surprise. And so now you've got a really big fear of huge burly men or trains or, often when there's a really irrational fear, like, for example, my niece, I have two nieces. One of them was really excited about swimming, could not keep out of the water. The other one, from birth, screamed when she got anywhere near water. No reason whatsoever, none whatsoever. So to me, that's obviously a past life. I've drowned, or or something's gone horribly wrong, because there wasn't any logical reason for it. So, and often, when we have a really deep phobia and there's not anything in this life that really would indicate why you've got it, then sometimes it's good to look back. But then, of course, we have things that we've learned from mum and dad. If mum was really scared of everything and I'm really scared of everything, how much of that is mine and how much do I need to give back to my mother? Obviously, if you have children who have really difficult, challenging childhoods, they may not know what their influence is or what caused them to react the way they did. Oh, it's so fascinating, honestly.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you if that's also part of it, is some of the stories that we take on from our parents and it manifests in our body as a physical illness. Do you see that happen a lot too?
Yeah. And also the thing that I see, so maybe I'd be talking to you and I'll suddenly just see 4 women standing behind you, like a line of 4 women, and it's on your mother's side. So I'm like, oh, this is 4 generations of women. And then I'll just get an instinct that somebody lost a baby, or their husband cheated on them, or they had deep depression, or they lost their part, you know what I mean? So whatever the influence is, but I see how many generations we go back, and sometimes that goes way back. So it might be that, for example, one of the things that I do know from working in this treatment center is if my mum and dad can't express their feelings in any way, so maybe they're distant or whatever, often it's the children that say, okay, mum and dad, I mean, not consciously, but they take on what their parents can't express. So you may find yourself as an adult deeply rageful and like, well, I don't know why. And I'll go in and say, actually, this is your dad's unexpressed rage. Do you see what I mean? So I don't know why children do that. It makes no sense to me, but wow, it happens a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, we're going to come up to a break in just a few minutes, so I don't want to start with you tapping into me until we come back, but I did want you to share maybe like a couple of, without sharing anything personal, obviously, but maybe a couple of stories so people can kind of understand what it is what you're saying that you do. So somebody came to you with a problem and then how they healed it, how you helped them heal it.
Okay, so I don't want to repeat the ones that I've said on other people's shows, so let me new ones for you. One lady came to me with some quite severe brotherly abuse and had not been able to get out of bed for 2.5 years. So got someone to deliver it to me. I think I did about 6 or 7 sessions on her. And the 8th time she came, she walked in the door. She was practically sprinting. She's like, I don't know what you've done, but I feel amazing. So we'd removed so much of the emotional garbage, and she'd been suffering from really serious ME. So I'm pretty sure ME and chronic fatigue are emotionally based, by the way, but I'm not a medical professional, so you need to consult your doctor at all times. So that was one. And then let's think of another one. Oh yeah, so when I was training, this is brilliant. So when
go ahead.
Okay, when I was training,
a
friend of mine came. She'd had kidney problems all her life, really painful ones. I did one tiny link. I sent her away and I said, I'm really sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. And 3 weeks later, she rang me up. She was like, I'm in so much pain, but it's time for my session tomorrow. And she came the next day and has not had kidney pain since. So yay! So
oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Yeah, we're going to take a break here in a sec, but I also want to ask you when we come back a little bit about uh, depression, people that suffer severe
Sure.
depression. I just want your insights about that because I know a couple of people that are going through that right now. So I'm curious what your hits are on people who suffer that. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to be back in 5 minutes, and Caroline is going to look at my body because I have a couple of things going on. And if you have some questions, please post them in the chat. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 5. Welcome back. So if you've been listening to the first half of my show, I have Caroline Nettle on, and she is an angel intuitive, a spiritual counselor, and a health intuitive. And today we're focusing mostly on the health intuitive work that she does. And she has graciously said yes to come on my show when I asked her to be my guest. And she's going to give you a little example of what she does, and she's going to do it with me. And I told her that was fine, and I am an open book, so whatever she picks up on, Caroline, I give you complete permission to share it openly.
Okay, so do you want to go into that one now?
Yeah, let's go in. Let's give people a little taste of how you work. And if you guys who are listening want her to answer a question, just write it in the chat, and then we'll address it. So yeah, please. So ask me whatever you need to ask me.
So I want you to just take some nice deep breaths.
Okay.
Just have to ask permission, and I get permission. Great. Okay. So I'm going straight into your heart. I'm going to say up front, I'm not a general practitioner, a medical practitioner. So everything I say is just what your body is telling me. So do it as you please. But I'm going into your heart, and I'm feeling quite a painful feeling in the left-hand side of the top chamber. Okay. And I feel as though something happened in the last 5 years, I'm not brilliant at time, where you experienced something that really hurt your feelings, but not just boo-hoo, my feelings are hurt, but like, oh God, that's really painful. And it feels as though, I'm going to say, it doesn't feel like family or losing a dog. It feels like you saw something in the world outside of you, like on a film or on the TV. I'm not really sure what I'm picking up, but anyway, something out there triggered this, oh my God, like really hurt you. It was a good thing, I think, because it really jettisoned you into doing something like the book, for example. I'm not sure, but I feel like it motivated you to move forward. Okay. But I've got this memory of the pain that you experienced. It's not a physical pain, it's really emotional. So I'm just gonna it's coming up first, so it's what needs to go. So let me see what it needs to link to. So that, my heart's really beating fast when I say that. So I think it really impacted you. Okay. Then I want to go into your emotional brain, which is the limbic brain. So I'm linking this heart problem into your emotional brain. What I'm seeing for you.
Go ahead. It's okay. You can say it, whatever it is.
I was just hoping it wasn't going to be too woo-woo, but here we go. So you were conceived, so your parents were quite comfortable conceiving you. Let's not go too graphic there. But I'm feeling about 6 weeks into your mum's pregnancy, there was a real sense of, oh God. Like I'm just feeling this anxiety and it washes over you. Like I'm feeling,
That is true.
Anxiety?
That is a true statement.
Yeah, okay. So in your limbic brain, you've got this I'm barely alive, like you're really not very big at 6 weeks into the pregnancy, if you're there at all, but this wash of anxiety, and somehow it's related to this heart thing. So I don't really know what the link is there, but I'm going to carry on. So when you get anxious, I'm getting goosebumps now. Okay, so when you get anxious, it's like your whole brain, I'm going to say, almost shuts down. It's like you can't think properly. It's like, what's my name? I don't know. Not that bad, but it just feels like you just kind of go into fight or flight, kind of shut down. So I'm just feeling a real sense of like it's all consuming. That's how I'll say it.
That is true.
Okay. So sorry to say that on radio, but that's what we're getting.
That's true. That is true.
We're going to link those two together. And what's happening for me is Mother Mary is coming into that link. So those two things, and she always comes in when there's a hurt child or a child that needs comfort. So she's just coming in to influence that link. That's beautiful. Okay. Whew. That was a bit strong. Okay. So now I'm going into your throat chakra. Okay, so you're very good at expressing yourself. You're very good at saying what you mean. I'm really picking up that you should be more, I don't like the word should, so it would be helpful to be more clear in your message. Because I think what I'm feeling here is there's a lot of stuff you don't say. There's a lot of stuff and it's sticking in my throat. It's like, so I feel like it's important to be said. I'm gonna say, I don't feel it's a book. I'm feeling more like writing a play or something that's enacted. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it doesn't feel like a book. It feels like something that really needs to be said.
Okay.
So now as I'm tuning into that, having said that, I am going into a past life for you. Okay. So this is so fun. Okay, I see you at the top of a mountain. You've got very few clothes on. You're obviously used to the cold. You are about 100 years old. You've literally got nothing on your feet and very little on your body.
Okay.
You know who you are. You're really, really wise, as in you've lived a really good life and you are really kind. And I feel that you had, a really uneventful life until this point. And I'm feeling as though, as you're standing there looking at your domain, because this is where you've been, you've lived your whole life here and you've lived a really simple life. I'm seeing some people running up behind you who don't know about your life and don't know how you've lived. And I'm just seeing your head. They chopped your head off with a knife, with a sword, sorry. Okay, the influence of that, going from I'm really peaceful and happy and here I am to I need to speak my truth. I need to say who I am. Oh, that's what it is. I need to say who I am. It sticks in your throat. You find it really challenging. So I appreciate that you're very eloquent and you speak really well, but I think there's a bit of you that you need to share. That wasn't very okay. So I'm going to link that all the way down your spine. I'm having a hot flush here, so this is interesting. That usually means that we need to shift a lot of energy. So all the way down your spine, and spine is how do I hold myself in the world? How do I stand up? How do I respect myself? That sort of thing. And I see that you have a fairly good sense of self, but that you down the bottom, which is where money is, down at the bottom of the spine, you have. You're not so strong at the bottom of the spine as you are at the top of the spine. And the top of the spine is responsibility, so I'm imagining you're fairly good at that. But as we get down to the bottom, the spine feels less strong. So we're just going to bring in some strength to that bottom of the spine and all the muscles that come off it and the tendons and the blood vessels. So we just want to bring some strength into that area. So one, all the energy is running up and down the spine, so that gives you much better sense of self, but also helps you in the area of money. Okay.
I like that. Yes, that's all true.
Okay. So I think that's about as much as your body can do today. Is that right? Are we finished? Yes, we have. So I'm just going to do some tapping for you. So I'm going to tap on the head to say to the head, you need to do this. And the head goes, oh, I see. And then I tap it on the heart because that's the hard drive of the body. And it sends the good information around. So if you could just do some nice deep breaths with me.
Mm-hmm.
One more.
Okay.
So hot. So there's a lot of energy, especially running up and down my spine. So does any of that still need to do anything? No. Did you feel anything?
Yeah, I did.
Some people do, some people don't. It's important. Okay, so I'm going to say you have some homework. That would be the end of the session because the body can only do so much, and we've just asked it to do a lot. So you need to drink some water, get some sleep, and one of the things I want you to do is, do you know what I mean when I say a figure of 8 with your hips?
So you just figure 8 with my hips? Yeah.
Yeah, just move your hips in a figure of 8. So if you can do that a little bit for 3 days, I'm hearing, that'll really help to get the energy moving in your lower spine region.
Okay.
Well, so normally I would do that, and then I would say, and when do we need the next session? So a little bit of feedback would be nice.
Okay. So I have to tell you, that's really cool. It's funny that you said it's really, you said you felt the heat off my body, right? Mm-hmm. You said I run really hot. Oh. And you're not the only person who's told me that. I've been to an acupuncturist. I emit so much heat. So there is something with the heat that's going on in my body, which I find interesting. And when you talked about my parents, and this is a story I don't mind sharing. So my parents got married because of me. Okay. And they've been together freaking forever, and they love each other. They adore each other. But I am the reason they got married. So when my mom got pregnant, she was freaking out because she didn't know my dad very well. And she the story goes that she was with her cousin, and they were talking about all the different ways of things that they could do. I mean, it sounds terrible, but you know, I understand, like maybe not to have me, you know what I mean? Because she wasn't sure if she was ready, but she didn't do any of them. But it was just that she was feeling that anxiety, and it probably would have been around 6 weeks if you think about it. Yeah. That's probably when because it was very early. 6 to 8 weeks. And my aunt called my father and said, are you going to marry her or what? And he came to New Jersey, and he married her, and now they've been together forever, and I have 2 sisters. So
that's good. It all worked out.
It all worked out. So when you said that, and I do, when I get super anxiety, I don't get it very often, but when I do get that way, I can't think, and I have to go off and take time by myself. I can't talk to anybody. I need that alone time to sort of like try to get back in my body. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So everything that you said was very, very true. And I don't always say everything that I feel like I need to say. So everything you hit on is true.
Thank you so much. Well, you're very brave being a guinea pig on Earth. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to show people what I do. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God, are you kidding? I love it. Yeah, so that was just super, super interesting. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
So I was just going to say you invited people to put things in the chat. I'll do my best if I can talk and write at the same time, but I'd be interested to hear if anybody else experience, because sometimes when I'm doing it for you and it's their stuff too, they can also get a bit of a healing. So that's fabulous.
I have just a quick question. So lately, and this is just something new, I've been noticing I have a little indigestion, and that isn't something that I've ever had in my life. And I'm wondering if some of these things that you picked up on could also be presenting as the gut, is like something that I need to digest.
My stomach started really rumbling when you said that. Yeah, I mean, immediately my head was going, what's she not swallowing? What's she not? What's in her life that she doesn't like?
Okay.
But no, it didn't come up this time. It doesn't mean to say it's not there. It's just this time your body wanted to do those things. The next time, if we did another time, you know, I can go in and say, can I work on her digestive issues? But the body might say no. So I just trust what it says. But it didn't. Those didn't come to those.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you.
If I can, sorry. So I just did that on an individual. I can also do it on animals, but also things like collective things like businesses, groups of people. So, you know, if you've got a business and people aren't gelling properly, or, you know, there's a bad apple or something like that, certainly one of the healing sessions can definitely help with anything like that. So just wanted to say that.
Oh, yeah. And you work on animals too. I love that. Oh, yeah, because our animals, they need our help, right? We've done so much damage to this planet. We need to do some cleaning of that up and helping our animal friends and creatures. So if anybody wants to ask Caroline something, please do. I did want to mention that Annika, I don't know if you saw it, she wrote in something that she must have had an experience where she saw a past life, but she said in a past life in India, she had an illegal abortion and it went wrong. And in this life, she could not get pregnant because she had medical problems. So did you want to maybe address something that she said?
Yeah, no, it feels really true what she's saying. And I'm very sorry that she's had that, because obviously she was trying to get pregnant. But yeah, definitely that is something that we could work on. If you want to book a session with me, we can definitely look at that. But yeah, I mean, that is sadly a very typical thing that I find, where a past life influence stops you doing something in this life. So yeah, I'd be happy to work with you on that one. And did you say you wanted to speak about depression?
Yes, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were about that. So there's a couple of people that I know that are severely depressed, where they can't get out of bed. Depression, it's deep, and I'm wondering what your thoughts. You know, the suicide rates have jumped up tremendously. You see it all the time. So is there something? What do you think's going on with that, with depression?
So. I believe, and again, I'm very happy for people to disagree with me, but usually what I find in depressive cases is they're very, very angry at themselves. So it's really interesting. Now, depression can be an inherited disorder. It can definitely be a learned behavior, but it also becomes a habit. You know, you're talking to someone who's had depression all their life, so I do know what I'm talking about. And really, it's about, for me, if I'm working with someone who, like you said, can't get out of bed, I mean, we take it fairly slowly, because there's so much emotional baggage to clear. So that would not be a one session wonder. That would be probably a few months worth of sessions, because by the time you get to the point where you've got so little love of life and love of, you know, lack of joy and so on, it is a challenge. But I am proof that lots and lots of body talk can really, really help, because I've done a lot of work on this, and being one of these practitioners, I get swaps all the time, so I just love it. But yes, it is usually something to do with anger, and it's usually turned on self.
That makes so much sense to me, actually, now that you said that. Like a little aha went off on my head, because when you get to a point where you turn against yourself and then you start to feel hopeless, it makes sense that would turn into a very deep depression. And then you get to a point where you don't even have the energy to care anymore. You just want out. Like there's a part of you that wants out of this life, those experiences, and you just don't want to do it anymore. So,
and you said, you know, not liking yourself. I mean, autoimmune disease, what that means is the body's attacking itself. So, you know, most of the diseases that we now think start in the gut. But anyway, most of the diseases where it's autoimmune, so your arthritises and so many diseases, I can't mention them. Mm-hmm. But if your body's attacking you, something's seriously wrong. So we have to go back. I have to go back in and really turn those messages around, get rid of the junk out of the immune system. I mean, there's a lot of work to do. It is possible. Mm-hmm. But yeah, by the time people get to me, generally they've been around the houses, they've had surgery, they've taken all these drugs that, and nobody can say what's wrong with you. And very often it's like, oh, my mum didn't love you very much, did she? Or, something really, right. Simple like that, and it has affected their health. And, I say that my doctor friend told me this. She said the first drug that you take deals with the problem. The second drug deals with the side effects from the first drug. By the time you get to the third drug, your body cannot cope. It doesn't know. It's too confused. So all these people that are on 18, 20 pills, it's like your body is under so much stress. No, I'm not telling anyone come off your drugs. I'm not saying anything like that. But if we can work with you to get rid of the emotional baggage, and then hopefully you can start living a much healthier life. But again, for me, what I do is take away all the stuff that's not necessarily in your body-mind complex. And then you can start functioning better, which means you start eating better. You probably start looking after yourself better. Your brain starts functioning better. And it just leads you to be a better version of yourself. That's how I see it. Yeah.
So fascinating. So do you think that a lot of us come back and reincarnate with the same group, the same family, so that maybe some of these same issues keep coming up in each life, to deal with whatever it is that we have to deal with? Do you find that when you're working with your clients?
Yes, because I think often we need to do it until it's done, don't we? So if I'm constantly going out with men that don't love me this lifetime, and I never work out that I'm going out with men that don't love me or can't love me, and I get to the end of my days and I haven't learned that lesson that I need to learn, that I need to love myself, it's not about the men.
Right.
I'm sure that I'll come back next time and go through the same thing until I learn that, I'm attracting men that can't love me, so that I learn to love myself, or whatever it is. And I think the interesting thing about that, some people come down here to be an astronaut, and other people come down here to be a faithful wife or a kind friend, or so not everybody's life mission is really exciting, but you will know what your lessons are, because if you look back at where you've been for the last 10 years, you'll be like, oh, look, all those friends left me because I said the wrong thing, or I'm not the right person, or I'm really attracting people to me that love me. Great, I'm loved. So what else do I need to learn? It's fascinating. It's super, super fascinating.
So if people want to work with you, I know they can find you on 1-2-Listen, and where can they get? They can get a time-based session. How was the best way that you want people to reach out to you, to do sessions with you?
Yeah, so what we just did is called an intuitive healing session. I think that's what I called it. And that is done as an email-based session because of the time difference. And also I really like doing them in person, but I think they're much more powerful if I do them when there's no interruption. So I like to do that.
Okay.
So you can do that. And also, obviously, I've had people ring me up and say, oh, I've got this. What do you think? And I say, well, yeah, I can talk about it and I can say what I think. But if you want me to heal it, you have to go and book an email-based session.
Oh, okay. So that's the best way for people to work with you. All right. Yeah. And I love the fact that you healers, you guys can do this stuff remotely, because energy, space doesn't have anything to do when you're doing energy work. You don't have to be in the same room. You don't have to be touching the person, which is so fascinating to me.
And one of the things that happened to me when I first was trying to see if I could do it remotely, and I think everybody can do this if they work on that muscle that you were talking about earlier. So my friend said, I'm going to test you. So I have a friend called Sarah. Could you please work on her? And that's all I knew, that her name was Sarah. So I tuned into this lady. I did a session. I sent it over and I was thinking, oh, I just made all that up. That was, I didn't know how I'd done. And she came out, she's like, how did you know that? So I literally can do it if you give me the name of your dog, or I mean, with the animals, I like to know what the animal is, because obviously a horse is very different to a budgie. But
Sure.
with people, but and what I was thinking about,
Go ahead.
maybe is Christmas bonuses. So there we are. So that's maybe something you could think of for your friends and family.
Oh, I love that. And I was going to ask you, okay, so if you wanted to have a family member worked on, could somebody ask you to do that? Do you have to ask that person for permission? The person you want the working on?
I always ask permission before I go into the session. So I do that energetically, and sometimes I get a no, but generally, if I can, I just ask. So yes, you can do that.
So you ask the person's higher power, but would like somebody ask the person who's like physically here, because you may know somebody who's not into that kind of stuff, but you are, but you really want to help them. So how does that work?
Sometimes I say to the person, why are you so invested in helping this person? But I prefer it if I have permission, but sometimes I can't get permission, like they're in a coma or something, and then I can just tune in and see. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. It was super interesting. And thank you. What a gift to have you work on me. I am really grateful to that. You have no idea. So thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you being here. And guys, I highly recommend you reaching out to Caroline and working with her, and look for her on 1-2-Listen and set up a session. Thank you, everyone, for being here with me again today and tuning into Postcards to the Universe with Melisa on 1-2 Radio, where we are changing the way we manifest in the world. And everyone, have a wonderful week. Ciao.